before the Bible, before the prophets, before light itself had a name. There was something they erased from history, a secret so dangerous, entire libraries were burned to keep it hidden. Today, you're going to hear it anyway. What if I told you that the God you've been taught to worship isn't the highest God at all? What if the Creator described in Genesis, the one who spoke the world into existence, was himself created by something infinitely greater? Something beyond name, beyond thought, beyond existence itself. The ancient mystics called it the monad, and they were hunted for speaking its name. You weren't supposed to find this video. You weren't supposed to ask these questions, but here you are. That's not an accident. Some truths choose their own audience, and if you've made it this far, something inside you already knows. There's more. There's always been more. If this resonates with your spirit, hit that like button, because what's coming next will change the way you see everything. And subscribe, because this is only the beginning of what they've kept from you. Let me take you back, not to Sunday school, not to the church pews or the seminary lectures, but to the hidden temples, to the forbidden scrolls written in languages that no longer exist, to the places where mystics whispered truths too vast for the masses to carry. In those shadows there was a teaching, a doctrine so pure, so absolute, that even speaking it aloud felt like blasphemy. They called it the doctrine of the monad, the one, the absolute, the unknowable. In the Gnostic texts the early church tried to bury beneath centuries of silence, there is a cosmology that shatters everything you thought you knew. It begins not with Genesis, but with something before Genesis, before let there be light, before the Word. There was the monad, a presence so complete, so utterly whole, that it had no need to create, no desire, no thought. It simply was, not a king on a throne, not a father in the clouds, but an infinite stillness, a divine silence that contained all potential, all being, all truth, without ever having to speak a single word. But here's where it gets strange. Here's where the story you were told begins to crack. Because according to the Gnostics, the God of the Old Testament, the God who made Adam, who flooded the earth, who demanded sacrifice and obedience, was not the monad. He was something else, something lesser. A being born from the thought of a higher emanation, a creator, but not the creator. They called him the Demiurge, the architect of matter, the shaper of flesh and bone and limitation. And he didn't even know there was something above him. Let that settle in. The God who said, "I am the Lord your God. You shall have no other gods before me," didn't know he wasn't the highest. He believed he was supreme. But in the silence beyond him, beyond the seven heavens he constructed, beyond the angels and the thrones and the seraphim, the monad remained, untouched, unseen, unknowable. Now I need you to understand something. This isn't about tearing down your faith. This is about expanding it. Because what the mystics understood, what the Gnostics, the Kabbalists, the Hermetics all saw, is that truth exists in layers. The surface is for the many, the depths are for the few. And the monad? That's the deepest layer, the ultimate mystery. In the Apocryphon of John, one of the most profound Gnostic texts ever discovered, it describes the monad like this: the one is a sovereign that has nothing over it. It is God and Father of all, the invisible one that is over all. It is immeasurable light, pure, holy, immaculate. Not a being you pray to, not a force you bargain with, but a presence so absolute that even the concept of existence bends in its stillness. The monad doesn't intervene. It doesn't judge. It doesn't need worship. It simply is. And from its perfect unity, all things emerge, not through will, but through emanation, like light spilling from a source that never dims. The first emanation was called Barbelo, the divine feminine thought, the mirror of the monad's perfection, and from her came others, aeons, divine intelligences, each one a reflection of the one, stepping further into form, into structure, into individuality, and with each step, something was lost. The further from the monad, the denser the reality, the more forgetfulness set in. Until finally, at the edge of the divine hierarchy, an aeon named Sophia, wisdom, made a mistake. She tried to create without her counterpart, without balance, and from that flawed creation came the Demiurge, the god of this world. Pause, breathe. If your mind is racing right now, you're exactly where you need to be. Subscribe to this channel, because we're about to go even deeper, and you won't want to miss what comes next. Now, before you close this video, before you dismiss this as heresy or fantasy, ask yourself, why were these texts hidden? Why were the Gnostics persecuted, their writings burned, their names erased? If this was just mythology, why the violence? Why the fear? Because the implications are too vast. If the God of the Bible is not the highest, then salvation doesn't come from obedience. It comes from knowledge, from gnosis, from remembering who you really are. The Gnostics taught that every human soul is a fragment of the divine, a spark of the monad trapped in matter, trapped in a body, in a world designed to make you forget. The Demiurge and his archons, the rulers of this age, built a system, a prison of flesh, of time, of suffering, not out of malice but out of ignorance, because he believed he was God, and he wanted to be worshipped as such. But you carry something he can never touch, a light that predates him, a memory written into your soul before the foundations of this world were laid. The monad doesn't need you to bow. It needs you to remember, to awaken, to see through the veil. This is why Christ appears in the Gnostic texts not as a blood sacrifice, but as a revealer, a messenger from beyond the Demiurge's creation, sent to remind humanity of their true origin. The kingdom of God is within you, he said, not in a temple, not in a doctrine, but in the spark, the hidden flame that no law, no ruler, no archon can extinguish. He came to show you the way back, not to heaven, but to the monad, to the source. In the Gospel of Thomas, a text found buried in the sands of Nag Hammadi in 1945, Jesus says, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you have will save you. If you do not bring it forth, what you do not have will destroy you." Read that again. What is within you? Not what you believe, not what you obey, what you are. That is the key. That is the gnosis. The monad cannot be prayed to. It cannot be pleased or angered. It is not a judge. It is not a king. It is the eternal silent source from which all being flows. And you, yes, you, are an expression of it, distorted by matter, veiled by flesh, but divine nonetheless. So why was this hidden? Because it removes the need for intermediaries. No priest can grant you access to the monad. No institution can sell you salvation. No ritual can substitute for the inner awakening. The moment you realize your own divinity, the control falls away. The system loses its power, and the gatekeepers, they become obsolete. This is the truth they buried. If it stirs something in you, like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe, because the next revelation is coming, and it will shake you even deeper. Let me show you something. In Kabbalah, the Jewish mystical tradition, there is a concept called Ein Sof, the infinite, the endless, the unknowable divine that exists before the tree of life, before the Sephirot, before creation itself. Sound familiar? It's the same truth, different language, same source. In Hermeticism, they speak of the all, the mind of the universe. The ultimate consciousness in which all things exist as thoughts. In Taoism, it's the Tao, the way that cannot be named, the source that flows through all things but is bound by none. Every tradition that went deep enough found the monad. They just called it by different names, but here's what they all agree on. You cannot know it with your mind. You cannot grasp it with logic. You cannot define it with language. You can only experience it through silence, through surrender, through the death of the ego and the remembering of the self. The monad is not a destination. It's a recognition, a return to what you've always been. And this is where it becomes personal. Because if the God of this world is not the highest, then your suffering has a context. Your pain has a purpose. This world, with all its cruelty, its chaos, its confusion, is not the final word. It's a shadow, a prison of forgetfulness. But you are not meant to stay here. The Gnostics believed that at the moment of death, the soul must ascend through the seven heavens, past the archons, past the rulers who guard each gate, and at each level you must speak the secret names, the words of power that prove you are not of this world, that you belong to something higher. And if you remember, if you awaken before the end, you pass through, you return, not to paradise, but to the monad, to the silence before the word, to the light that has no shadow. This is not a religion, this is a remembering, a call from the deepest part of you that has always known the truth. You are not a sinner begging for mercy. You are a God who forgot how to see, and they knew this. The early church fathers, the emperors, the councils, they knew. That's why they chose the texts they did. That's why they built the creeds. That's why they made salvation dependent on belief instead of knowing. Because a person who believes can be controlled. But a person who knows, they are free. So here's the question. Will you stay in the story they gave you? Or will you step into the one you were always meant to live? The monad is not waiting for you to be worthy. It's waiting for you to wake up, to remember, to see through the veil and claim the light that has always been yours. This world will tell you you're small, that you're broken, that you need saving by something outside yourself. But the mystics knew better. They knew that salvation is not a gift from above. It's a return to what you are. A remembering of the fire that burns in your chest, the same fire that burned before the stars, before time, before the word was spoken. The monad is not a god you worship. It is the ground of all being, the silence in which all sound is born, the stillness in which all motion begins. And you are its echo, its expression, its thought made flesh. They tried to hide this from you. They buried it in deserts, burned it in fires, condemned it as heresy. But the truth doesn't die, it waits. And when the right soul asks the right question, it rises again. You were meant to find this. You were meant to hear this, not because you're special, but because you're ready. Ready to see beyond the God of this world. Ready to remember the one beyond all names. Ready to step into the mystery you were born to embody. The monad is calling, not with words, but with silence. And in that silence, everything is revealed. If this stirred your soul, if you felt something shift inside you, like and subscribe. Because this journey is far from over. And the next revelation, it's going to shatter everything you thought you knew. Stay awake. Stay seeking. The truth is only just beginning.